Welcome to My Jane, My Story, the only show that enables women to share their own secrets and insights to wellness, one story at a time.
Hello, everybody. Happy, beautiful August 8th. It is 8/8 today. This is Diane McConaughey here from My Jane. I am one of the wellness concierges at My Jane. So My Jane is a health and wellness company, and we are a business by women for women. And we are here to support women with their health and wellness in regards to cannabis. So we educate and support, just helping with our biggest concerns such as sleep, pain, and stress. So I'm really happy to be here today with who we are interviewing. This is Lisa Tollner. She is from SENSI Chews. She is a co-founder of the company back in 2012. SENSI Chew is a very popular line of edibles in the cannabis market, and their goal is to create medical marijuana products for families dealing with various health issues. And let me just say that their SENSI Chew Insomnia is the best. I am one of their biggest proponents. So welcome, Lisa. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Diane.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And so I just want to get to know you a little bit and let everybody else know a little bit about your background, where you're from. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm from beautiful Northern California and live in a small town called Los Gatos, just near San Jose. And, the getting started on the whole cannabis journey was such a serendipitous situation for me. I had started and had a successful advertising agency for many years and really loved what I did. But 2008 was really a difficult time. We had a pretty major recession going on. And even though I had lived through a couple of them already professionally, that one was really a doozy. Yeah. And I was kind of looking for my next thing, but not really looking too hard, just kind of trying to figure it all out. And right about that time, a guy had come to my office. I had my agency up above, and there was some retail down below. And he asked if he could rent one of the retail spaces. And he said, and I said, well, what's your business? And he says, well, I have a dispensary. And I said, well, what's a dispensary?
What's that?
And so that was like in 2008, 2009. And next thing you know, we build out this little dispensary for him, and one thing led to another. And next thing you know, my husband takes over the dispensary, and there's, lots of little crazy little side stories there. I won't go into in too much detail, but the long of it is, we started to get involved in cannabis, and I remember being struck by the diversity of people walking into this little tiny dispensary. And back then, I was had been a career woman. Sure, I had, used and enjoyed marijuana when I was, and even grew some when I was in high school and college.
Yeah.
But, you sort of, I was on a career path at that point and raising a family. And I just, it did not have a place in my life. I didn't need it for any health reasons per se at that time. And so it was the furthest thing from my mind.
Well, and back then they really didn't know there was any health benefits, right?
No.
I mean, it was just used for
social.
Yeah, right. So,
Purely
yeah, that would make
recreational.
sense.
Purely
Yeah.
recreational, purely social. But I couldn't get over the swath of humanity that was walking into this little tiny dispensary, because I could see the door from my office window, and it really stuck. I mean, clearly some of these people were hurting and in pain. And as time went by, and as my husband was taking over the dispensary, it was one of those things where there were, back in those days, there were only still, pot brownies and cookies. And I remember going down one evening and saying, we need some new products in here. This is so 1960s. And he said, well, let's start working on it. And that really kind of took me back to my roots, even though I had never done anything with cannabis. My professional background, I did a lot of product development in consumer goods and technology products. And even though I wasn't the developer of the products, I would, my job would be to help them figure out what was needed, what the consumers wanted, what the packaging and the messaging needed to be to promote it to the consumer, and then how are we going to get this through a sales channel and on a shelf somewhere. And so it was very much, it was a perfect skill set to have. And then he came from the manufacturing and tech side. So together we kind of had the perfect skill set to manufacture.
And at that time, did you know that there were medicinal benefits at this point or was it just what you saw with people coming in and out and What turned you towards cannabis?
Well, what actually really turned me toward cannabis wasn't so much the dispensary, but it was kind of the intersection of things that happened in my life. He was dabbling in the dispensary. I was sort of helping a little bit because I still had my agency at that time. But right about that same time, some family members started to become in need of help. My mom had just retired from 35 years in nursing, and her poor body and joints were gone.
Yeah.
You know, lifting people, you don't realize what a toll
Yeah.
nurses take
Right.
physically, and knees, back, shoulders, everything was shot. And she couldn't really take opioids. You reach a certain point, and she's a nurse. She knows what opioids do,
Yeah.
and she knows the addiction possibility. And a lot of opioid overdoses are accidental because as you
Yeah.
age, your body just doesn't clear the narcotics, and it eventually shuts everything off.
Right.
And that's why there's so many accidental fatalities. And so she needed an alternative. So, I'm watching all these people come in and out of the dispensary going, well, there's got to be a connection here. I just got to
"Hey,
find,
Mom."
I got to find the connection.
Yeah.
And so it was her pain, dealing with chronic pain was one of the primary things. And then another factor is my uncle, who was really my surrogate father growing up, had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
And so we knew it would be a really difficult road for him, and probably a short road. It's probably one of the most difficult cancers to overcome.
Absolutely.
But we wanted him to be comfortable. And so I had already been doing a lot of reading on CBD. So I was just doing everything I could to try and make his life as comfortable as possible, fighting that cancer. So I just dove into it, head first, and tried to
Yeah,
read
that's
everything I
great.
could. And right about that time, there was more and more research being done, even though the majority of research was coming out of Israel. There was work being done
Okay.
in France. There was little work being done in other parts of the world. Very little back then was, if
Yeah.
anything, was in the U.S.
And was your mom and your uncle open to this, or did you have to convince them, like, oh, look, I have this new thing, or what? How did you bring that to them?
You know, my mom was completely open-minded, and I still call her one of my favorite guinea pigs to this day. And she's great, and she's learned what works for her, what kind of dosing, what kind of ratio of THC to CBD. So she's
amazing.
really
Good.
understands it, and it's really helped her. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a huge fan.
Great.
My uncle was the polar opposite.
Yeah.
Right? He
Yeah.
was a little old school, and if the doctor doesn't say I should use it, and of course the chemotherapy is ravaging to the body,
Oh, yes.
and he really struggled. And even though I brought him lots of things and RSO oil and lots of good tinctures and things to try, he gave it a modest effort, but it really it was foreign to him. And again, a lot of programming, a lot of thought processes in terms of cannabis being evil that was hard for him to overcome.
No, and that's understandable. And would you mind explaining a little bit about RSO oil?
Oh, sure.
Just a short, because I know some people don't know what RSO is.
Well, our RSO stands for Rick Simpson oil, and Rick Simpson is a guy who really pioneered CBD oil, concentrated CBD and THC extract, as to provide relief for cancer. And he's a pioneer in the true sense of the word. He dedicated his life to it. I had the honor of Skype interviewing him many years ago.
wow.
We had a 2-hour Skype. It was supposed to be a 10-minute phone call. We Skyped for 2 hours.
Amazing.
And and he was living in Belgium, I think, at the time.
Oh, wow.
And what a pioneer,
Yeah.
and someone who's just undergone a lot of sacrifices
Right.
to help others. And he had I think it's called Angel Tears, is another type of oil that an extract that he's sort of branded. But RSO oil, it's very concentrated. You take a little bit of it that's no larger than the size of a grain of rice, and you put it under your tongue, and there's a whole regimen that he recommends, but it's changed many people's lives,
Yeah.
and has helped many to overcome cancer.
Right.
But unfortunately, because of his history, maybe he can come back to the U.S. now, and certain states where he wouldn't be arrested, but he was on the blacklist in many not only in the U.S. but other countries, and I believe he's in Europe somewhere now. But
isn't that unfortunate?
incredible
that somebody
man.
and then somebody who's helped so many people and has done something that could help many more people, and is just, but we're getting there, right? I
We
mean,
are.
the industry is getting there and starting to
Yes.
see that these things are changing people's lives, and well, that's
True.
great. And so with that said, then with helping your mom and your uncle, and then starting to see the differences, and so then Senti products became.
It was born.
It was birthed.
Yeah, it was birthed from there.
Wow.
And at the beginning, it was again, I looked at it like I would have looked at a consumer product. What is it a consumer wants? Well, it's really, we've always approached it more from the medicinal side.
Okay.
And I even see the recreational side a little bit medicinally as well, from the standpoint that you've had a stressful day, you want to come home and unwind.
Yeah.
You can have a cocktail or a glass of wine, or you might smoke something, or you might have an edible.
Yeah.
But the whole point is you've had a stressful day and you
Yeah.
want to just be able to shed some of that stress.
Yeah.
And cannabis helps you get there.
Definitely.
And so that's a really important medicinal aspect of life. In addition, we always looked at it from a medicinal point of view. So what would I want in terms of a medicine? And when I sat down to plan that, we said, okay, well, I don't want it to be high calorie. In those days, it was, cookies and brownies. So
Yeah.
anywhere from 200 to 500 calories to transport the medicine. So
Yeah.
it had to be low calorie. It had to not be messy. I wanted to be able to just eat it either on the go or in the comfort of my home, but not have it be a big ordeal. And I wanted it to be able to travel. So if I needed to medicate, I wanted it to be able to go in my purse
Yeah.
and not have it melt or make a mess in my purse or my backpack or my briefcase. I also wanted it to be consistent, right? Because back in those days, boy, you'd have one that nobody tested at the beginning, and we lab tested from the get-go.
Oh, wow.
And because we wanted a consistent product.
Good.
I want to know I'm getting 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams, or if I
Right.
really need a little more help, I want 15 milligrams, but I wanted to be able to know. So the dosing accuracy was essential.
Great.
And so thinking about how that packaging might support that and the product might support that, all those concepts went into the development of the product.
Wow.
So that when it came out the other end, we could look at it and go, okay, wow, this really is convenient and it's consistent and I can rely on it and incorporate it into my daily life.
So tell the audience what the chews are like. Give us an
Oh.
idea of what those things are. I know what they are. But
Yes. Oh, I'm happy to. So that was another aspect. It has to taste good.
Yeah.
And so the cannabis, we use cannabis oil, cannabis extract. Most of the terpenes are taken out. There's a little bit of terpene profile left, but not a lot. And the reason for that is terpenes that's the smell. And cannabis smells are often bitter and very harsh. And even though terpenes are wonderful in a vape pen or in fresh flower that you might smoke in a pipe or roll up in a joint, not so much with an edible.
Because that's what turns people off sometimes, right? When
Yes.
they taste that cannabis.
That tastes harsh and it tastes
Or the
bitter.
smell or- yeah.
Yeah, and so we take most of the terpenes out, but we leave a little bit in there, and then it's mixed with a special recipe that we developed that is like, I would say, a cross between a Tootsie Roll and a piece of fudge.
Yeah.
So it's fudgy and chocolatey, but it's not chocolate. So the beautiful part is you get all the wonderful flavor. If you're a chocolate lover, you get that nice creamy chocolatey texture that's a little chewy like a Tootsie Roll, but it doesn't have all the heavy butter content and cream content. And so as a result, you don't have the melting.
Yeah.
Right? It can
Yeah.
sit in your purse, it can sit in your car, and it might get a little soft, but it's not going to liquefy.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it very tasty, a really nice palate, creamy palate feel. We do recommend that you let it melt under your tongue for just 30 seconds to maybe 45 seconds before you swallow it.
Okay.
And let it kind of roll around in your mouth.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is you get a faster onset.
Okay.
Because it absorbs into the bloodstream quicker through the membranes in your mouth. And so you'll start feeling it in 15 to 20 minutes instead of having to wait for it to go all the way through the GI tract and,
Oh, that's a good
and
tip.
metabolize, and anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half later,
Okay.
depending on the speed of their
Yeah.
metabolism.
That's a good tip.
Yeah,
That's good to
so-
know for everybody.
Yep.
And so you have a lot of different types of chews, or I shouldn't say types, but they target different issues, medical issues. Is that correct?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about what you have and
Right.
what kind of medical issues you target.
Absolutely. So we don't get into the complexity of flavors. A lot of edible brands will have, watermelon, strawberry, grape, and that's fine. But we've never really been about the flavor. We're about the effect.
Great.
And helping people understand time of day use. And so everything is the chocolate caramel, but where we differentiate then is what it does. So we have what we call the classics, which are indica sativa hybrid. So sativa being more cerebral mental high, indica being more of a body muscular, deep relaxation high, hybrid being a little of both.
Okay.
And so depending on what you're trying to accomplish, if you're, for example, a sativa might be useful if you want to medicate, take the edge off, but you still have some things to do. You want to be productive.
Yeah.
You've got work to do.
Get up and go.
Get up and go, right? And indica would be more as you're home from work. You're kind of winding down from the day. You're getting ready for bed. Hybrid could be where you want a little both, a little body high and head high. It could be that you're dealing with a certain type of pain or discomfort, and you just want to take the edge off, but you don't want to necessarily be up or down.
Okay.
And you just kind of want to be in the middle. Then your hybrid would be a good choice. And then our specialty line, we have 3 in that category. One is our flagship product, SENSI Chew Insomnia. So it's an indica base with 4 grams of melatonin per dose.
They are the best. They are the best.
Oh, thank you. Well, it is, it's so great to hear you say that, and but we hear that so often.
Yeah.
It's by far our number 1 best-selling edible. I mean, they all do good, but that one is off the charts.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do, 1, because it works, but 2, so many people struggle with insomnia.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
I really had. I sort of knew people struggle with insomnia. My husband's a chronic insomniac, but and he's certainly gotten better. But besides that, I really had no idea till I got involved in this industry how many people struggle with sleep.
Yeah.
And it's a big issue. And I do find even my own sleep pattern as I've gotten older has gotten much more all over the map. I'll have a good night's sleep followed by a couple bad nights.
Yeah.
And so whereas I used to just be, if I was horizontal, I was
You're
asleep.
done.
I was asleep. But now not anymore
Yeah.
as I've gotten older.
And that's what we find with our members is their biggest issue is sleep. That's why you're in our sleep box.
Yeah. Well, as I've gotten, again, the more and more I've researched this and the more I've been in the industry and have an understanding of how sleep changes as we age, your body, it's a natural part of aging, is your body's going to produce less of its own melatonin. And melatonin it's a sleep regulator. It's basically a little chemical that gets released by the pituitary gland that acts like a referee. And it tells the rest of the body, okay, folks, time to start getting ready. Shut down. Get ready to relax. So if the cells don't get the message, time to relax, you stay wound up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's a big part of your what's called the circadian rhythm, which is the body's natural rhythm. That is it gets dark out and your body wants to start to unwind. So circadian rhythm and melatonin work very closely together as part of the body's sleep pattern. But if those things aren't in sync, hence sleep pattern gets out of whack.
Right.
I think another thing that happens too, and it's just part of busy lives nowadays, is just your brain, you're just stressed out.
Right. Brain won't shut down, right? It's just,
Brain
what do I
won't-
got to do? What did I do today? What
What did I miss? What am I worried about? And
Yeah.
it's really hard to shut off the brain.
Right.
And I find for me personally, that's one of my biggest things is I just can't get my brain to stop thinking. And some of it's stress, but some of it's just, too much. It's the busyness of our lives and it's hard to turn it off.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And and that's why we chose your chews to put them in our sleep box. And I tell
Thank you. I'm so
everybody,
grateful. Yeah.
you need to try these chews because I'm telling you, I took them and I have not slept that good in years.
Yeah.
And I'm usually a decent sleeper, but that was the best sleep I've had. And I felt amazing in the morning when I woke up, ready to go.
Well, it's so nice about them. And when I think about it from a sort of a pharmaceutical, a chemical standpoint, what are all those things at work that are making that so effective? So you've got the THC with your full spectrum, right? So you've got all those other trace cannabinoids, CBD, CBN, CBC, all those cannabinoids reducing inflammation, reducing any pain or discomfort, getting the body to relax. And THC is just like the ultimate muscle relaxer.
It is.
But in addition to that, it sort of gets the brain to quiet. It quiets the mind. So you've got a quiet mind, you've got a relaxed body, and you can drift off to this amazing sleep.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is once you get your dose just right, then you get your 6, 7, 8, 9 hours. You wake up and you're completely refreshed.
You're raring, yeah, you're ready to go.
And you don't have the groggy after
Right.
effects of Ambien or Xanax or some of the other, traditional pharmaceutical options. And you wake up and you're feeling really good. And you've got a little bit of that anti-inflammatory that kind of carries you through the first part of your day. So I know people that I've talked to, users that I've talked to that are dealing with, after surgeries or just they've got, a lot of joint pain, knee and back and hip and shoulder pain, they find that the anti-inflammation effects carry them till middle of the next day.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. So you've got that on board and,
Yeah.
even makes your daytime better.
Right. So that's so great. I think everyone needs to try a Sensi Chews.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, then tell us about, there are a few other lines you have as well, right?
Right. So in the specialty category, so we've got the Sensi Chew Insomnia. So that's the THC with melatonin. You have Sensi Chew Energy, which is the sativa with ginseng. So if you want to medicate and get a little extra boost to be productive, got to get some things done. We've got kind of our playful product, which is a hybrid called Amore, Italian word for love. And the Amore is mixed with an aphrodisiac called Tongkat Ali that comes from Indonesia. They've used it over there for at least 100 years.
Wow.
And it works differently for men and women, but the end result is added sexual stimulation and enhancement.
Great.
And then our CBD category has a CBD with melatonin called Insomnia Plus, a platinum, CBD platinum, which is all CBD, full spectrum, and then a CBD gold, which is a 1-to-1 ratio, which is probably the best ratio for pain, which is half CBD, half THC.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
how would you tell a brand new user to start with your chews? I know that I know you guys have them dosed and
Right.
very well packaged, but how would you tell somebody who has never tried cannabis, is afraid,
Oh, yeah.
or someone who's had a really bad experience on cannabis? What would you tell them when starting with the Sensi Chews?
Well, any responsible edible company is going to tell you start slow until you know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, in fact, in every product we provide a little tips guide, and it tells you exactly what you should do if you're a new user. And the first couple times, follow these instructions, you'll have a good experience. And any newbie should really start with 5 milligrams, no more than 5, and see how it goes with 5, and then adjust up or down from there. Generally, most people will creep it upwards to 10 milligrams, but at least you've had a little bit of a sense of what the effects are like with 5,
Okay.
and you can creep it up to 10. 10 is really, for the greatest portion of the population, ideal. But then again, every person's unique.
Everyone's different.
I've
Yeah.
talked to people who need 20 to 25 milligrams to even have an impact. And these are first-time users. These,
Okay.
so what does
Yeah.
that tell you? It just like some people need, can take 1 Tylenol. Some people need 3. So, I mean, it just depends on the individual
Okay.
and their metabolism, their age.
Yeah.
But generally, 5 to 10 milligrams is a good place to start. And I always tell them, make sure the first time, be at home. Don't try to do
Yeah.
anything too hefty. Don't sign any important papers. Don't make it a big shopping day. Don't plan to do anything too rigorous or too complicated that day.
Yeah.
Make it an easy day at home so you get used to the feeling.
Okay.
And then once that you get that really in a comfortable place, you can start incorporating it into your everyday
Yeah.
life.
And you're talking about THC and CBD starting with 5 milligrams, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Now, CBD, since it's non-psychoactive, obviously you can take more and you're not going to have a psychoactive component.
Okay.
Generally with CBD, you're going to need a little more to feel the anti-inflammation effects.
Yeah.
We make a soft gel called Sensi Caps. It's a 25 milligram CBD soft gel that's full spectrum. And really, I have found that you need about 25 milligrams to really have an impact on most pain.
Okay. That's good to know.
Right. And but the THC is where you want to start slow. That's the
Yeah.
one that can set people back if they have a bad experience, and,
Yeah.
and then they don't want to revisit it again
Right.
for a while, and that's
Yeah.
a shame.
And we don't want them to do that.
Right. Yes.
Well, tell me, we're wrapping up here in a
Yeah.
little bit soon. So, what do you do for your wellness? What is your regimen for the day that you take care of Lisa?
Oh, well, for me, I'm pretty lucky in that I don't have much in terms of health issues
Good.
that I'm having to address. But I also, as I'm getting older, I'm finding some of those classic things that are affecting others are starting to affect me too. Lack of sleep, aches and pains, stress,
Yeah.
get a little anxiety. I never used to get anxiety, but I mean, I find that I'm actually getting a little anxietous from time to time where I just, and I can even go, okay, why am I feeling like this? And so the CBD is great for that. And
Good.
so, and I just keep my SENSI Chew Insomnia in my nightstand drawer. And if I have a rough night and I toss and turn, I finally say, heck with this. And I'll just grab a little,
Down one of these chews.
down one of these, put a little chew under my tongue, and
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes later, I'm lilting off to a
good.
lovely sleep. And,
Good.
so I, for me, I've found a few things that really work great for me in terms of taking the edge off of the pain. The CBD is great. If my knees are shot and I'm just trying to, do maintenance and exercise enough to, hold on so I can keep that knee replacement off as long as possible. And but I know it's probably imminent at some point.
Yeah.
So just trying to take what I can to I have a lot I want to accomplish in life, and a lot of things I want to do that are both my passions. In terms of what's happening with SENSI, but also my passions for art and my family and being able to travel and see the world. And I need energy and I need to keep my body in shape to do that.
Yeah.
So cannabis absolutely helps.
Good.
No question.
Good. Yeah. Well, you're always healthy and happy when I see you. So
Thanks. Thanks.
I just want to thank you, Lisa, for being here today. It was so great to hear about SENSI products and the chews. And I'm telling everybody, I keep telling everyone that sleep box that we have is just to try those chews.
Thank you.
So Lisa, you can find her at, why don't you tell everybody how to get a hold of you?
Well, probably the best thing to do is if you go to our website, which is sensiproducts.com. It's a great site, lots of information there. There's also wonderful testimonials there, so you can see what a lot of other people are doing in terms of their wellness and what they're doing for pain or anxiety or stress or even specific things like PTSD or fibromyalgia. Parkinson's. I mean, there's lots of users who found success, and you can read up on them there and investigate things for yourself for your loved ones.
Great.
So it's a very informational site, and the info at SENSI Products. We have various staff members who help, but a lot of the emails that come in, we review together. So I will see
good.
that come in, and we'll happy to help in any way we can.
Be ready. They might be reaching out to you soon, Lisa. You're
Excellent.
ready to be busier?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
Well, if any of you have a story out there you would like to share, you can email us at mystory@myjane.com. And if you would like to have any information about our boxes or any of MyJane's products and just see a little bit about us, you can go to myjane.com. If you call the phone number, you might get me, Diane McConaughey, the wellness concierge, on the other side of that line to answer your questions. But we thank you all for being here and listening today, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, Lisa, and have a great day. Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to My Jane, My Story. If you want to learn more, you can join the My Jane community at myjane.com. Get instant access to our Facebook group, Facebook community, educational resources, and updates on My Jane products and special events. And for personal attention right now, you can also pick up the phone and call 833-MyJane2. That's MYJANE2. And speak to your own wellness concierge, because it's time to own your wellness. Be well.